Hi, my name is Ryan Ames, and this is the February edition of the Northeast Wisconsin Rotary E-Club series of speakers. This month, our speaker is Jeff Gilderson from the Oshkosh Public Library, and he's going to talk to us about the strategic plan over the next couple of years. So I'll throw it over to Jeff. Thanks.
It's Gilderson Dewey. It's a hyphenated last name. I'm not quite sure how to modulate my voice in this forum, so if I'm talking too loud or too soft, please chime in and let me know. I'm going to try to kind of burn through the very high points of the library's current strategic plan. It was approved by the library board in December of 2015, so we've been working on it for about a year. And I'll try to get through the highlights in about 20 minutes and allow some time for Q&A. We worked a strategic planning process during 2015 with the help of Brenda Haynes from Blue Door Consulting. And we had several community listening sessions as well as focus groups with our board and our staff. We ended up engaging in a visioning process that was really not expected by me that it was going to be as kind of intense as it turned out to be. And so we came up with a long-term vision for the Oshkosh Public Library of a library in every life. When we came around to that vision for the next 10 years, we really liked it because it recognizes that each person may enjoy the public library in a different way that's specific to him or herself. That while folks often think public library equals books, it is a more open-ended vision that while books are near and dear to our hearts and will be a big part of our vision going into the future, we're looking at other ways of serving the lifelong learning needs of the Oshkosh community. We also like this vision because it's ambitious and it's aspirational. It doesn't call for us to kind of just sit on our laurels. We have a very good relationship with our community. We have a great wellspring of goodwill within the citizenship of Oshkosh and the area. But we can't just stand still because the world's not standing still. Reading is changing. The amount of reading people do, the formats they read in, and the other ways in which they learn are all changing fast, especially in the digital environment. So we have four major goals to our strategic plan at this time that we're working on. And the first one was an early submission for our new vision, and it was a library card in every hand. What this does is it recognizes that the library card is the passport. It's the first step to gaining access to the full value of the collections and services that we offer. And it's one of our major goals to kind of raise the consciousness, well, not only get more library cards in, a greater market penetration, get a greater impact of members of the community holding library cards, but also raising their awareness and consciousness of its value. So we need to look at a better kind of new, if you will, new customer welcoming process. So the new cardholder, we want to be able to give them, a more welcoming experience when they first get a card. That would be, with a tour and more information and some follow-up as well. We want to engage in some marketing and outreach to specific target populations to establish their cardholder status and also create an affiliation with the public library. And the population that we're concentrating on first there are first graders. First graders are people who are just coming into their own as independent readers. They want to exercise that skill. They want to show it off. They're excited about it, and we feel like that's a great time to connect with a new reader and get them affiliated with the public library. So we've been working with a focus group of educators and parents to try to understand how best to get that message out, not only to the first graders themselves, but their families. We want the kids and their families to come into the library together, because really a first grader is dependent upon parents or caregivers to get them to the library. So that's our first kind of target marketing. We hope for that to start this coming fall. We'll be doing classroom outreach, encouraging more classroom tours, and we're frankly looking for ways to engage a message to encourage families to start the library habit. We find that some families, they just do that. They bring their kids into the library, and then others, it's just not part of their lives. So we're really working hard to try to understand how to make that case to somebody who's perhaps not already a library user, that it would be good for their children, good for them, good for their families to use their library cards. And then the last kind of strategy under that goal is that we want to look for ways to increase the perceived value of being a library card holder. And one of the things we're looking at is an initiative copying from the Lester Public Library in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, which for the past couple of years has, during National Library Week in April, they've partnered with area businesses to where if a person brings in their library card into that business, shows that they're a library card holder, well, they get something. They get a discount, or they get a little giveaway, or they kind of get something in that business for showing their library card. Just kind of creating, it's a short-term thing. And what does the business get for it? The business gets some advertising. We'll be doing some combined advertising for all the businesses that participate. And so for a small business that may not regularly advertise, they may get some exposure that they wouldn't normally get. And I would encourage any of you who have friends or relatives in the local retail or small business environment, services or goods in Oshkosh. If you think that you know somebody who might be interested in participating in that with us, have them contact Lisa Voss, and that's V as in Victory, OSS at OshkoshPublicLibrary.org, Voss at OshkoshPublicLibrary.org. Lisa Voss, our head of library development, is going to be coordinating that program. So moving to the second goal, one of the things about our goals is if you read them and you say, well, that's what you're trying to be, isn't that what you already are? And that's where I say we can't rest on our laurels. Our second goal is to be a recognized downtown anchor destination. Well, we receive somewhere between 950 and 1,050 visits every day. We probably have some of the best foot traffic of any location in downtown Oshkosh. So yes, we are already an important destination, but we can't just rest on that. So our major strategies are: we want to redefine, rebrand the public library as a neighbor who inspires exploration and discovery. And that puts the emphasis on the lifelong learning process more so than the tool you use to do that. So it's not just about books, but it will be doing a lot more programming. We want to engage members of the community to come in and share their knowledge, share their enthusiasm, and teach their neighbors how to do things. So recently we had a belly dancing class for adults. We've had a beginning yoga instructor come in and just give people the basics. In other words, just a taste. We're not going to rival, the YMCA or the rec department or the senior center in having, a long-term ongoing yoga program. We're not going to do that, but we'll give people a taste of these things and point them to the resources in the community that could allow them to continue to learn. Also, we want to identify the reasons that people come downtown and persuade them to add a visit to the library. That's that anchor destination idea. So that's something we haven't really developed a great deal yet. We want to reach out to major employers that bring people downtown. We continue to partner with the Business Improvement District and their efforts to bring people downtown. So there's work to be done there as well. We want to create public programming, and I mentioned a little bit about that encourages growth of what we call the library habit. We want people to get used to thinking of the public library as a place to go, a place that they want to go and that they want to fit into their busy lives. And then lastly, we want to make a visit to the library a convenient, comfortable, and fun experience. And so that goes from everything to keeping the restrooms clean and pleasant, to work that we're doing with the city to redesign the spacing of the parking stalls in our parking lot. That's the #1 complaint we've gotten about coming to the library, using the library, is we have very narrow parking stalls, which makes it difficult for people to get in and out of here. So in the city's capital improvement plan, there is included a resurfacing of the parking lot here at the library this coming summer, and then a redesign and restriping for wider, more standard parking spaces. So we think that that's just one of the things we're working on to make a visit to the library easier, more comfortable, more welcoming. Third major goal is that we want to be a provider of trusted, go-to online resources. We offer a wide variety of digital collections already, things like many things related to the history of the community, like city directories and the house numbering that was changed back in the 50s. I mean, we offer a lot of things online already, but in our community listening sessions, one of the themes that came out was the need for a one-stop event calendar for Oshkosh and the Oshkosh area. And this is about gathering, organizing, and disseminating information. And so when we heard about that need, we looked at each other and said, yeah, we have skills in that area. Gathering, organizing, and disseminating information is kind of right up our alley. It's right in our wheelhouse. So we are, we've spent 2016 beginning to investigate what it would take, what it might look like, what kind of efforts would be involved in our kind of mounting as comprehensive as possible an event calendar or event resource for Oshkosh. We have a ways to go with that yet, but I'm confident that we have some good people working on it, and it would need to be mobile friendly. It would need to be ready for smartphones. This wouldn't be we're going to build it and just expect people to come. We need to put it out there on platforms that make sense in people's busy lives. So that's goal 3. One other thing I want to mention there is that you may not be aware, but the city has applied with the state and federal authorities to establish a national historic conservation district in the 100 and 200 block of Washington Avenue, right here where the library is. And the theme of that is neoclassical architecture, especially kind of highlighted by architect William Waters, who thrived in the late 19th, early 20th century. And as a creative architect, he really formed the look of post-Great Fire Oshkosh, and many of the buildings that still exist on Main Street today, including the public library, were designed by William Waters, and many of them use these neoclassical themes. But we're working on creating an interactive audiovisual walking tour on a platform that would be usable from a smartphone, that would allow kind of an immersive experience for either a local person or a visitor to town to kind of walk down these 2 blocks and learn about the architecture, learn about William Waters, learn about something about the history of Oshkosh. So that's another kind of what we hope will be a go-to resource that we're working on. The last major goal is that we mean to be a community institution with widespread public and private support. Well, what's that mean? Part of that is talking about funding. We are about 75% funded by city tax dollars, and we're about 18% funded by county tax dollars. So we need to retain, maintain the support of the funding authorities, of course, and the publics that communicate to city council, county board when they're making those budget decisions. But we also we have a friends group, and we're working to explore new directions for the Friends of the Library. They are going through a reorganization process. We want to attract new members to the Friends, get them involved in membership activities, get them involved in a kind of re-energized fundraising activities. And we want to see a greater synergy between our Friends group and our use of volunteers here at the library. They really should be kind of working together, but they haven't in the past. We recently hired a new coordinator of volunteers and made that a full-time position where it had been a part-time position. And one of her major charges is to bring those two efforts together. She's the liaison for the library to the Friends group, and she's also coordinator of our volunteers program. We have a long history of receiving wonderful support from donors, both living donors and donors who remember us in their estates. And then lastly, advocates. I use the word advocates. Typically, we haven't been a very politically active organization as far as, kind of needing to mobilize the support to speak for us. We believe that we have as I said before, a great well of goodwill and support in this community. But we need to cultivate people who are willing to be spokespeople for us, who would be willing to advocate for us in tight times. And then lastly, if you've ever written a position description, you include that statement that says other duties as assigned. Well, our last bullet point there, be an active partner in building community capacity. That's the counterpart to other duties as assigned. That's kind of just says, look for other opportunities for us to partner and work with other agencies. And one real quick example of that, the Oshkosh Area School District has been instituting if you will, a behavior standards teaching model in its schools. It's called Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. And each school kind of adopts a different flavor of this, and they proactively teach kids behavior expectations within the environment of the school. Well, early in spring of last year, the school district reached out to a number of agencies, including the library, and described this school of thought and encouraged us to consider implementing it at the library. And so this was an opportunity that popped up during 2015 to partner with the school district and also to institute kind of a culture change within the library. Our staff typically has, and library staff everywhere that I've been, has typically said, well, we're not here to be babysitters. We're not here to teach kids what to do. And I've kind of said, well, yes, we are. We're gonna engage in teaching kids how to properly behave within the library setting, because they're really not necessarily learning it elsewhere. So that's just an example of a partnering opportunity that can pop up, and we want to be ready to seize on that as well. So very, very high level, that's the big picture. My library board has before it a proposed action plan working towards these goals that they will be approving or amending at its February board meeting. And we're excited. It's an ambitious plan, and it pushes us to not rest on our laurels, to keep looking for ways to be of value and to make the value case to the community. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just like to point out, I'm very happy that you've heard about a complaints about those narrow parking spots. That is a problem, has been for years.
Many times.
Yeah. On it. So I'm glad to hear the library's that way.
And you know, an advantage in getting that fixed is that the city manager is a library user and he drives a really big SUV.
That's almost impossible to park there, I would think.
Well, that helped us make the case.
Yep. And I think, I know the libraries, because with the changing, you've talked about it, the changing medium over time, ebooks and videos and everything, and the library has adapted over time to that, is, and I don't want to put your foot in your mouth, but because you are libraries is a trusted, honest resource for what's valid and not valid as far as data, because that's what you really have. The books are data.
Sure.
Library. Have you thought about maybe becoming a place to identify the different types of media outlets between reliable, maybe reliable, this junk news and fake news? You want to even step into that area?
You know, it's funny you should say that, because I run a management team meeting every Tuesday morning, and one of my managers just this past Tuesday said something much like what you just said: is shouldn't we consider doing some programming about critical evaluation of information resources, to maybe teach some techniques for standards that can be applied to information streams. We have to be very careful about wading in too far as saying, this is authoritative, this is not. But we may look at some programming that can help people find tools or develop their own sensibilities about weighing the validity of information. So at this point, and then for a long time, public libraries in collecting that data have held a standard of trying to build collections that represent a diversity of views. And so we continue to do that. But in this wild information environment, dominated by social media, where everybody can spout off and say whatever they want, our kind of efforts to create a balanced collection over in our little corner of the world don't have the influence that they once did. Mm-hmm. So, but your point is a good one, and it's something we're thinking about too. So, but it's a programming area we'd want to enter into very carefully.
Yes.
And with an emphasis on civility. Those are some of the hallmarks of what we would try to do.
You had mentioned lifelong learners and offering classes, and you mentioned yoga and belly dancing. Is the library, you guys already might do this, but offer little mini courses on the history of Oshkosh or the political process, or some of those like academic type things that people probably have forgotten or never learned?
History of Oshkosh has been a major focus of our adult programming for many years. Not only in this building, but also in an outreach capacity. We've worked with the universities, continuing, I'm trying to remember the name, it's Continuing Education and Lifelong Learning. They are the organizers for the Learning and Retirement Program, and we are regular presenters to the Learning and Retirement Program, and those kind of history programs are very, very popular there. Do we stray into academic topics? Sometimes, not so much so far. I mean, I think the university kind of has a pretty good lock on that, and I know they do open lectures at times to the public. This past year, we've been pushing more into kind of do it yourself kind of craft programs where people could learn how to do something. One of my employees, one of my managers said it's kind of like Pinterest Live, but that's not to say that we wouldn't. I mean, I've attended some library conference programs on MOOCs. You may have heard of them. Multiple with massive online something courses. I can't remember, but they're like college courses that are offered in a virtual environment. So I mean, we may branch into those things. I think generally speaking, what we're looking to do is become less a warehouse where stuff is stored for people to come and use, and more a place, a community center where things happen, programming happens, people interact and relate with one another in order to learn. So I wouldn't rule out more academic programming down the line.
You also mentioned that 950 to 1,000 or so people come through the doors every day.
Right.
Do you have any statistics on what number of those people are daily visitors versus, you know, people who come once a month, or, you know, what's the term?
Yeah, no, repeat visitors or repeat customers, if you will. No, our door count technology isn't that sophisticated. It's just a tick mark. I don't know that. I mean, we are able to distinguish using our library automation system between those people. We take two measures at the end of every year. Total library card holders, that's everybody who's registered for a card and has used it at least once within the last 3 years, versus what we call active card holders, and those are people who've at least used their card once in the past year. And right now, that's as fine as we can cut it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm interested to know, I'm using huge examples here, but exaggerations, but is it 1,000 people in the city of Oshkosh actively utilize it, or is it 30,000 people in Oshkosh actively use it?
We absolutely have our regulars.
Right.
We absolutely have folks who come every day or several times a week. But that's fairly small number of people.
Mm-hmm. And then
I really can't be precise there.
The last question I had is obviously doing a strategic plan like this and trying to re-envision what the library is has to happen because of the changes of how we do things and get information now. In similar sized cities as Oshkosh, have we seen libraries literally close because they haven't innovated? What's the market outlook for libraries in general?
I think I would go along with Mark Twain that our demise and death has been rather prematurely predicted.
Greatly exaggerated.
I have not heard of public libraries closing, but it's a matter of relevance, and it's a matter of being of value and continuing to be of value. Our book circulation and the circulation of the physical items in our building has dropped significantly in the 10 years that I've been director here. When I started, we were circulating like 1.1 million items a year, and we're down close to 900,000. So, the way we're being used now, we are also, and we've been aggressive about offering ebooks and downloadable audio as well. So we haven't just rested on the physical items that are declining. But no, libraries really aren't closing as of yet. I think Americans like and love their public libraries. Mm-hmm. But for me, the key of it is public libraries in the United States really rose and proliferated in the period of about 1870 to 1910. We are not eternal or necessary or inevitable institutions. We need to continue to serve our communities or we will go away. I mean, at some point, our annual budget is just over $3.5 million. So if we kind of wither away in our usefulness to our community, we don't want it to be easy someday for someone to say, oh, that's wasted money. Somebody may be saying that now, but we certainly don't want a majority of our community to be able to look at us and say, well, they're dispensable.
Excellent. I think your strategic plan makes a lot of sense, and I know our family uses the library pretty frequently for videos and kids' books and all sorts of stuff. So
great. You read to your kids?
Oh, yeah. Of course, constantly.
I'm an English teacher, so.
Excellent, excellent.
I have a question, if there's time.
Yes.
Does social media play into the plan at all? Facebook, Instagram?
Well, we have a presence on Facebook and Twitter. We're still trying to learn how to use that in a way that's both appropriate and effective. And I can't say that we're quite there yet. We've employed a couple of interns over the past year to help us explore that and get more of our messaging out there. I think the social media effort is just, it's not really, it doesn't have a presence in the strategic plan per se, but that doesn't mean we're ignoring it.
Because I'm, as Ryan said, we utilize it a lot, and as a high school English teacher, I see the huge benefit, and I wonder if there could be like little mini videos where you would tour certain sections of the library that people wouldn't know. Like, I think about parents who are struggling with behaviors with their children, and you have a wonderful parenting section in there. I've gotten different teaching books for education that I've used in my classroom. I remember when my kids were little, I would check out flashcards to work with them. So I would wonder if like little short videos where you'd highlight a different section that people maybe wouldn't know about it. I told tons of people about the fact that you could check out flashcards, and they were shocked. So I don't see what you're saying. It's hard to figure out what.
Right. And while if that's an excellent idea, and I'll certainly pass it along. We've tried to use, we had a channel on YouTube for a while, and so we were presenting some short videos for a while, but there are production issues. Even if you're wanting it to be kind of short, quick, and dirty, we are still representing our community, and so we want it to be of at least a certain level of quality. I watch, sometimes I'll do things like, fix an iPhone or fix my daughter's a Wii system based on something I'll find on YouTube or iFixit, and those are very low budget, and so maybe we could get away with something like that. But I'm a little bit careful about the quality of what we put out there to represent the library. But it's a good idea. It recognizes that people learn in different ways.
And maybe a way to do this, start off with quick and dirty to get some interest and find out where people like to see stuff, and then upgrade them.
Yeah.
There's more interest, and there's people like that.
And I almost wonder if it's something that, we have some, I teach in Fond du Lac, but there are some very talented high school students who are, know so much more than we do about the computers and using their phones to record things. Sure. I don't know if that'd be more of a pain, but you almost wonder if the kids could get service hours if they're in Key Club or clubs like that, where they could come in and they could get their hours for it. You would, of course, the library would have say over, everything, but they could come up with it, and then maybe the videos could even be shown at the high school level to get those kids in there too.
Well, I've recorded your idea, and I will pass it along.
Okay.
We have about 1 minute here, Ryan.
Yeah, I was just about to say we got to wrap it up. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Jeff. It was really interesting, and I'm glad to see that we're coming up with a great plan to keep the library relevant.
Before you sign me off, can I plug our website? It's oshkoshpubliclibrary.org. That's a kind of good first place to go to find out what's happening.
What is that again? The address?
oshkoshpubliclibrary.org. O-R-G.
I'll add it to our script at the bottom of the page.
Great.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to fellow Rotarians. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much. You have a great night.
All right, take care.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.